Hello, welcome back. Today we're going to continue on the all-time record series with the Columbus Blue Jackets. There was a couple things that stood out when I was compiling the information together, but for the most part, the records were about what I was thinking. This is a team that hasn't done significantly well in their history so far. They don't have the same success that we'll see with as we did with the Nashville Predators, who came into the league at the same time. So, with that being said, we're gonna move on over. Yeah, yeah. So the Columbus Blue Jackets have been around for 21 seasons. Of those, they've only had 6 playoff appearances, so making the postseason is not something they do pretty regularly. That is interesting to me because of the breakdown of everything that's coming afterwards. So, out of 6 playoff appearances, they have no Stanley Cups right now. I do believe they only have one first round win in those 6 appearances, if I'm not mistaken. They do only have one retired number. I swear Rick Nash's number is retired by the franchise, but according to Hockey Reference, when I checked, there isn't actually a retired number for the franchise. So I'm not sure if I'm just imagining that or not. So I posted it as 61 is retired. If it's not, it should be. And I'm leaving it at that. So that being said, they do have positive records against 18 different teams. That kind of shocked me. Now, in their history, they've had a total of 1,650 games played. Of those, 715 of those are wins, 736 of those are losses, 33 of those are ties, and 166 of those are overtime losses. So when you throw the numbers together, as always, 715 wins as is. Total losses between losses, ties, and overtime losses comes out to 935 for an effective win percentage of 43%. So, that's granted everything that we've heard so far. The fact that they have positive records against 18 teams really did surprise me, because of those teams, there's 2, 4, 5 of those teams are divisional teams. So that really tells me that outside of their division, they don't have a whole lot of luck getting the points where they need them that are going to make the difference when it comes to making the postseason. So back to the usual. The Seattle Kraken, I have omitted altogether because there's only 2 games. That is far too small of a sample size. But beyond that, the team that they like to face the most is the New Jersey Devils. That's a really good thing. When your top team, again, omitting the small sample size of Seattle, when the top team that you're going to beat more often than not is a divisional rival, that is really good. You want that. Now, that is a smaller sample size than other teams because for a long time, the New Jersey Devils and the Columbus Blue Jackets were not in the same division. They weren't even in the same conference for a while there, because I do believe Columbus started in the Western Conference. So that being said, the fact that you have a 648 against a divisional team, you're going to like that. Next, trailing shortly behind is the Buffalo Sabres with a 645. Obviously, over the last 10 years, Buffalo's history has really helped that. Vegas is still too small of a sample size for me to really count them in because it's only 8 games. And then it's Montreal after that. So it was a really weird way that everything realigned for the Columbus Blue Jackets, where they have small sample sizes relatively for divisional opponents. And then you've got other teams in the same conference now that you've got good success with, but don't have a large history with either. So that being said, So the 7 teams that share the conference with the Columbus Blue Jackets are the New Jersey Devils, the Philadelphia Flyers, the New York Islanders, the New York Rangers, the Carolina Hurricanes, the Washington Capitals, and the Pittsburgh Penguins. The 2 teams that Columbus does not have a winning record with will surprise nobody that's paid any attention to the Metro Division. The Washington Capitals and the Pittsburgh Penguins arguably have been the 2 best teams in the Metro consistently over the last, I'll say as far back as the last 10 years. I think going back to 15 years might be a bit too much of a stretch. But definitely over the last 10 years, they have been the 2 top teams interchangeably from year to year. So, but everyone else after that, it looks like for the most part, um, it's Columbus's show for 3rd spot if you're following this record. So they stay right in the mix for that 3rd playoff spot in the division, but don't have a whole lot of playoff appearances. And this is why numbers get really weird in hockey, and this is why anybody who says that they can reliably predict this with hockey, generally no. At the end of the day, you can throw a whole bunch of numbers together, especially because advanced stats are becoming more and more prominent. But at the end of the day, they play the games, and hockey is almost as much luck as it is skill when you look at numbers. And this is one of the ways that you can really illustrate that really well. Now, again, this is another one of those, like, Columbus, kind of like Colorado, kind of are everywhere as far as what teams they're going to get success from, because you've got a Pacific, a Central, a Pacific, and an Atlantic team right in between 2 sets of divisional rivals. Then you go past the next set, so from 15 to 21, you've got Central, Atlantic, Central, Atlantic, Central, Atlantic, Pacific. So they're kind of all over the place, and then at the bottom, it looks like they just really don't have success against mostly the Pacific Division. So with Columbus, it's kind of a shotgun, and that probably explains why the number of playoff appearances is so low with these guys. Because they don't have a consistent spot that they're getting reliable points. But all in all, their numbers trend. Taking a look, yeah, their numbers trend basically as you would expect them to. Your winning teams, you've got plus goal differentials. With Minnesota, they're break even at a 548. They've got a negative goal differential against Anaheim. It looks like, yeah. But they have a positive record there. And the Boston Bruins as well, and not by a small amount. So that actually stands out, even though they only have 35 games with the Boston Bruins, obviously having never been in the same division, even though they have moved divisions and conferences. The fact that it's 94 goals for versus 119 goals against, but they do have a winning record, is very interesting to me. But short of when they bulked up a few years ago, where they brought in Matt Duchene, like that era when they went on that run right before Bobrovsky left, they weren't really a team that, if you thought firepower, that was a team you thought of. A lot of their games really seemed to be won more defensively than anything. So, actually, I just noticed they're a negative goal differential against Calgary as well. I also find it interesting that they have a winning winning percentage against the Calgary Flames, when what I remember, again, hearing highlights and catching scores and stuff, Calgary typically had success against Columbus when I was checking. So I guess I'm not sure what I want to call it, but like I'm just checking at convenient times. So that's got to be what most of that is. But other than that, yeah, like yeah, some of these negative goal differentials are pretty bad. Like the Pittsburgh Penguins, so they have 46 games between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Columbus Blue Jackets, and it's a 121 versus 157 goal differential. Like that's bad. Colorado is basically as bad, 141 versus 209. Tampa Bay, 95 versus 130. So when they lose, it really starts to show here that like they lose badly. 164 versus 225 with the Edmonton Oilers. So these are teams that unless they figure out a new game plan to get points from those teams, that's not going to go well. Those numbers are just going to continue to climb downwards. Yeah, so that kind of outlines the problems that when Columbus has issues, like they really have issues, but there are teams that again where they can rebound some of it, so they're maintaining divisional points, which is good. When you have the ability to maintain your points divisionally, those points are almost worth twice as much to you as any other. So that breakdown tells me that typically, I bet you that sound went off. Yeah, trying to stay on the ball with that kind of stuff. But yeah, typically, unless Columbus really starts to figure out the low scoring and the blowout losses that they're historically known for, then they're going to be a mix of do they make the playoffs or don't they? And the answer is likely going to be no. The fact that they do have like Elvis Merzlikins is pretty promising in net. I don't expect Jonas Korpisalo to be there for much longer. You are adding Pierre-Luc Dubois, they got rid of Pierre-Luc Dubois for Patrick Laine, so that'll help the scoring. Zach Werenski, arguably one of my favorite defensemen in the entire league. These are signs that they're trying to change that narrative, and I really hope that they do. But that being said, if you like the video, please drop a like. If you would like to see more, please drop a subscribe. That's always awesome. Right down here, still haven't figured this out, but on Twitter it is at CPTJohnny15 because Captain Johnny doesn't fit. And if you want to talk more hockey, that's probably the best place to get a hold of me, or in the comment section below. The next video that I'm pretty sure that we're going to wind up doing is Dallas. That'll be an interesting one for me because Dallas is one of those teams that I have moments where I follow more regularly than I don't, but then I start to follow them pretty religiously. So we'll see if what those numbers spit out are what I remember. But until the next video, stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you, and all the best.